Hi, and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther, and today I am going to show you my new rental garden plot. I came by yesterday and I gave it a look, and I talked with a gardener here who, I'll call him Mr. C, who's basically been gardening in this community garden for 8 years. And he gave me all kinds of advice and tips. I had saved a ton of cardboard over the winter for this, and he said cardboard is a bad idea because they have a big problem with field mice and other critters that even if you put compost on top of it, they'll get under it and make nests and make holes and stuff. So I'm going to listen to him on that. And I'm just coming today to get a better sense of the garden and to show you what I'm going to be working with. So let's go see. Here's my plot number 38. History of this plot, at least the recent history, is that a young couple, they set up a few plants and they basically didn't come back after they did that. So they didn't really maintain it, they didn't weed it. The other thing I found out about the garden is they just added this trench last year, and apparently water issues are a big problem here, particularly when it rains. There's a hill in the woods where the rain just all comes down. So he has recommended I add a trench, a ditch here to connect to this ditch, to this, to help with drainage because the water comes this way. And that also means, so it comes down here, but then it also comes this way. So that also means that I'm gonna make my rows go this direction. One other thing he told me is that because it's so wet, that this isn't a good place to grow peppers. Now he did say if I did a raised bed or grew things in buckets that they do okay. So I'm definitely gonna have to do some kind of raised bed. I'm gonna show you this garden over here. This is the kind of beds people set up here. They're usually about 2 feet wide, and I think this is probably 16 feet long is my guess with this one. So I'm probably gonna emulate something like this for my bed for my peppers and try to give them a little bit of a better chance, because you know I love peppers, and if you watch my video you know I've winter sown a ton of peppers. So that means I need to figure out a solution. Another thing he told me is there's actually a stream on the other side of this fence, about 50 feet away from here, he said, that you can put a hose into. There's a pump that you can buy, a rechargeable pump with a rechargeable battery. I think he said for about $100 that you can use to pump water from the stream to something like that barrel over there. And that way you can have a water supply all year round. And I tell you what, not having to haul water all summer long will be a real relief. So I'm willing to pay $100 for a battery and pump, or $120 or whatever it takes to not have to haul water all summer. Another thing he told me is that the trees, you can see the trees over here, that about 2 o'clock, so the sun actually comes from this direction, which is sort of the kitty corner to where my garden is, and then it comes over this way, and basically by 2 o'clock the tree shade starts coming into my area. And so what that means for me is that I'm gonna plant the things that like part shade, like herbs, like basil, and more of my leafy greens towards the back of the garden, and probably more of my tomatoes and peppers and eggplants and things that need full sun, as well as full sun flowers towards the front. So I think that gives me a sense. Now let's see what we're working with. You can see here, it's actually quite rich, quite nice. It probably is going to have all kinds of seeds and other issues, but the soil is actually quite rich. I will have to weed, and I'm meeting with a lady tomorrow who says her husband can clear this out for me. I kind of want to do it myself because then I'll have a better sense of what I'm working with, but then also it's a really big space, so I may not turn down the offer of help for a small price depending on how much they want. So I need to go back to my car and get some more materials, but this is sort of what I'm working with. They left some bamboo poles that I've started stacking in the back, but it seems that they have used cloth that is under dirt and is going to be very hard to pull back. They've also used some plastic cover. But the good news is that pulling this back will actually clear a lot of the space. So I will have to do less weeding at the beginning once I kind of pull back the straw that grew here. And I can show you, because this stuff grew so thick, it's really actually quite easy to remove. I'm gonna wear gloves, I didn't wear them this time, but it's really quite easy to remove. They all kind of come out together. You can get a nice big clump. You know, you can make a real difference real fast. You can see where, since they just added this fence, there's some dirt they've dug up from doing the fence. You know, you never know what you're gonna find here, so we have like a couple buckets. That might be the neighbors, I'm not sure whose that is. Some plastic bottles, that might be a watering can over there. And unfortunately, some people have, one of the reasons I have to wear gloves is because back behind here there was a broken, busted bottle, beer bottle. So I definitely need to be careful while I'm starting to work with this garden. I think I can make this work. So let me get to it and I'll show you afterwards what I got. All right, it's the end of the day and this is what I have accomplished. I was able to pull back about 1/3 of the cloth for the garden, maybe a little bit more for the beds, and you can see the holes here where some critters have made a little nest. So that's a sign of why I don't use cardboard. And then this stretch here, you can see I dug this up and I'm going to add some leaf grow to it, just to get things rolling. The city will be bringing some compost, and I can also get city to actually deliver compost here, I heard. So I will have more, but I'm one of those people that when I get a row done, I want it to look like the row's done, if that makes sense. Tomorrow I'm probably going to come back in the afternoon after work and dig and make it more trench-like for rain. And what I'd like to do is by the end of this week, I'd like to have these 2 rows done and ready to plant my cool weather crops. One step at a time, but I'd say this is not too shabby for one afternoon's work. I see potential here, which is really exciting to me, and it's scary because it's my first time using a space this size, but I'm also aware I'm going to have some failures, which is just anytime you're working with a new space or anytime you're gardening ever. Nature has its way, does what it wants, and sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't. All right, that's it for this video. I still have to winter sow some flowers, so I'm going to do a video on what I'm winter sowing there, and yeah, I'll see you soon.